Zoo came into being nearly a century ago. Crazy zoo escapes have been a fixture of society. Sometimes the animals are bored of captivity and make a daring escape. Other times, gaps in their fences allow them to step free. When transplanted from their natural environment, animals have shown a remarkable aptitude for springing themselves from the joint. Everything from kangaroos to hippos have joined the proud tradition of animals who broke free from their cells using wildly diverse means. In honor of all those animals on the loose, here are the 10 wildest zoo escapes ever. Number 10. Chuva the macaw. In 2009, a macaw named Chuva managed to slip out of his enclosure and smuggle himself onto an RV, all without the ability to fly. The macaw's escape and its location baffled zookeepers until a family from British Columbia found the bird huddled near the engine of their recreational vehicle. Royal Canadian Mounted Police said the family was extremely surprised. Fortunately, though, Chuva was hungry and thirsty, but she was still in relatively good shape after her surprising escape. Number 9. Bronx Zoo's cobra. For a period of 6 days in 2011, the Bronx Zoo's Egyptian cobra slipped its confines and ignited a citywide manhunt. Of course, the reptile's keepers insisted the cobra hadn't gone far the entire time it was on the lam. It turns out they were right, as the 20-inch-long cobra was found just a few hundred feet from her enclosure, safe and sound. As it happened, though, the snake's escape was a big topic of conversation among New Yorkers. One person even began a hugely successful Twitter account for the snake that began with the opening line, "I want to thank those animals from the movie Madagascar. They were a real inspiration." Number 8. Rusty the Red Panda. One morning in June 2013, zookeepers at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. opened the red panda enclosure to find their recent acquisition. An 11-month-old red panda named Rusty had gone missing. According to keepers, Rusty had escaped when rains weighed down trees near the enclosure, allowing him a pathway to escape. In the short span of time before he was recaptured, thanks to a tip on Twitter, Rusty was able to travel nearly a mile. Since his escape, the red panda and his mate, Shama, were relocated to the Smithsonian's Conservation Biology Institute in Front Royal, Virginia, to start a sweet red panda family. Number 7. Penguin 337. In 2012, a Humboldt penguin named 337 managed to scale a wall and squeeze through a hole in the fence at the Tokyo Sea Life Park. It then remained at large in Japan's capital city for nearly 2 months before it was recovered. Perhaps most surprisingly, 337 was able to subsist in the urban landscape relatively unscathed. When he was spotted and recovered, a spokesman for the Tokyo Sea Life Park said the penguin was in good health and had even managed to hunt successfully, maintaining its weight throughout the ordeal. Number 6. Lioness Nala. In 1997, heavy rains damaged the lion enclosure at Jungleland, a 7-acre zoo in Kissimmee, Florida. While workers attempted to fix the cage, a 2.5-year-old lioness named Nala made a break for it and stayed on the lam for nearly 2 days. Like an escaped house cat, however, keepers at Jungleland reported that Nala, who had been raised in captivity, tried to return to her cage on at least one occasion after escaping. Unfortunately, the frightened lion would flee before workers could get close enough to help her. Nala was finally caught when she was spotted by a search helicopter, which led keepers to Nala's location. She was immediately tranquilized and led safely back to Jungleland. Number 5. German Bear. Early in the morning on June 1st, 2018, several animals, including 2 lions, 2 tigers, a bear, and a jaguar, were reported as escaped from the Eiffel Zoo in western Germany. An intense thunderstorm caused flooding in the animals' enclosures, and officials initially believed all the animals busted out of their pens. Authorities told citizens to stay indoors and lock their doors as firefighters and police searched for the animals. Using a drone, authorities were able to locate all of the animals, most of which were actually still safely contained in the zoo. Employees originally were unable to find the animals in their enclosures due to the massive amounts of flooding. The only animal to actually escape was the bear, and officials shot him after spotting him on one of the zoo's public paths. The bear did not survive. Number 4. Indian Tiger. In 2013, a wild tiger sauntered happily out of the forest and onto the grounds of India's Nandankanan Zoo. Rationalizing the tiger had showed up to try and get with the zoo's captive female, zookeepers took a chance and threw open the door to the enclosure. The male tiger happily wandered into the tiger enclosure and promptly made himself right at home. For the next several weeks, the tiger seemed happy to eat, nap, pace, and, of course, have sex. Then, as nonchalantly as he arrived, he escaped, scaling a 2-story security wall in order to make his escape. To this day, the tiger remains at large. Number 3. Ken Allen, the orangutan. During the summer of 1985, an orangutan named Ken Allen at the world-famous San Diego Zoo repeatedly outsmarted his keepers for several months. He would escape by climbing the retaining wall that separated him from the public, using a series of virtually non-existent handholds. Allen's industrious climbing stumped zoo employees and inspired a fan club that grew with each successful escape attempt. The first time Ken Allen escaped, he wandered around the zoo, staring at the other animals before he was led back to his spot. The second time, Ken Allen took the opportunity to visit a much-despised fellow orangutan named Otis in order to throw rocks at him. The third time, Ken Allen found a crowbar left behind by a zoo employee, but didn't use it. After that, employees began to keep watch on Ken Allen to figure out how he was climbing out of his enclosure. Like any good convict, Ken Allen stopped trying to escape when eyes were on him. Even when zoo employees went undercover as tourists, Allen still wasn't fooled. The zoo had to hire expert rock climbers to figure out how he was getting out, and then spent $40,000 to fix the rocks so he couldn't access his escape route anymore. Number 2. The flamingo. In 2005, an African flamingo made a break from a zoo in Kansas. Though a search was originated to find the little guy, it was to no avail. The flamingo had gone missing. Until 8 years later, that is, when birdwatcher Neil Hayward spotted the flamingo 650 miles away on Texas's Gulf Coast. Apparently, the flamingo had migrated to the ocean and found himself a partner who'd escaped from a Mexican nature reserve years earlier. When notified of their bird's existence, the Kansas Zoo wished the flamingo luck and stated they'd allow the bird to continue living in the wild. Number 1. 150 Rhesus monkeys. Led by a rhesus monkey named Capone, more than 150 rhesus monkeys escaped a Long Island zoo for several days in 1935. Most reports agree that the monkey's keeper was going about his normal cleaning duties when the monkeys made their move. He placed a board across the moat that spanned the rhesus monkeys' island and went to work. Meanwhile, the enterprising rhesus monkeys simply walked across the board to freedom. Again, reports here conflict. While the Tribune said the keeper was set upon by the horde, the Evening Post played the story a bit more wholesomely. Ultimately,
please subscribe, share, comment.